Hey y'all, welcome to the channel. This is Dream Another Day Tarot, and this is going to be a reading for whoever needs to hear it. Please keep in mind it is a general collective reading, so it may or may not resonate with you. Just take what does and leave the rest for somebody else. Also keep in mind these readings can be for any astrological sign, okay? If you are interested in hearing any of my other disclaimers, they are all in the description box below. The only other disclaimer I like to make is that gender is fluid in tarot, so please just place yourself where you fit, and I will use gender neutral language as much as possible in order to make these readings more inclusive. A couple other things. So I am now going live every Friday, and the time will vary. So if you're interested in joining me live, where you can ask me free questions that I will answer to the best of my ability, first come, first served, for free, then please do subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and hit the notification bell, and that way you will get a heads up when I go live, because the time will vary, okay? So that's tomorrow. So I will be going live tomorrow, and it's a lot of fun. So I enjoy it. It's becoming a regular thing, so please do join me over there. Also, if you like the reading, please do not forget to hit the like button, drop me a comment, again, subscribe if you're not subscribed, and all that jazz. So I'm going to go ahead and say my affirmations and get into this reading. Thank you so much, Spirit, for your divine messages and guidance. We are deeply grateful, and we know we couldn't do this without you. Would you please help guide the collective spirit for their highest good, and please bless us and protect us as we move forward into this reading. Okay. Woo, let's do it. Also, if you're interested ever in dropping me a donation, you can do that anytime. Also, if you are interested in a personal reading with me, all that info is in the description box, my donation links, as well as my link tree. And if you go to my link tree, there you will find a variety of links that I have up there, but you will find my tarot Instagram, and that is where you will message me for a personal reading, okay? And we can talk about pricing. It is sliding scale, as well as what that process will look like, okay? So let's go ahead and get into it. Thank you, Spirit. Any messages for the collective today? Thank you, Spirit. And also thank you to all of you who are supporting my channel. I really, really appreciate every single one of you. It means a lot, and I'm really having a good time watching this channel grow. Very grateful, and I hope that we can continue on. So I'll keep doing my part. Ten of Wands in reverse. We love to see it. Ten of Wands in reverse is all about letting go of burdens, dropping burdens, coming to the end of a difficult cycle or a difficult chapter in your life. This is about having carried the weight of the world, right? And this is the weight of, your past. This can relate to suffering and strife and struggle. Coming out in reverse is a great sign that you are coming to the end of that. Okay, this is the end of a difficult chapter. We love to see it. Look at that. 8 of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. And it is not by coincidence. This is because of the hard work that you have put in. Okay, you've been working hard to overcome these struggles. Okay, and a part of that could be mentally, right? And psychologically, emotionally, spiritually. You're doing the work. Okay, that's what people mean when they say doing the work. It's really about working through our misconceptions, our preconceived notions, our attitudes, belief systems, etc. Like that greatly impacts our day-to-day actions. It impacts our perspective, and everything that goes along with that, meaning it impacts our life. Okay, so if you are capable of doing this work and getting through this, it is really actually helping you change your life, right? By dropping these burdens, right? So you've been doing the work. Congratulations. Don't give up also is the energy here. Don't give up, because it's almost time for you to, reap the benefits of the hard work that you've been doing, essentially. That's what I'm hearing. This could also be talking about work and finances with the 8 of Pentacles. Maybe work has been challenging and you're about to get a little bit of a breakthrough, right? A lucky break is the energy. And we've been feeling that energy for a little while now. I don't know if any of you have also been hearing that in your readings, but it's been coming up quite often in my readings, as well as other readers too. So I feel like, we may, when we hear the same message, oh, I'm going to pick these up with my feet if I can. Ho, ho, ho. Okay. Ooh, okay. 9 of Swords in reverse. So this is talking about, again, letting go of anxiety. You know, you may have been having a hard time getting like sleep at night. This is something that keeps you up at night, stressing, right? And it's coming out in reverse. So that really means that you're dropping this as well. This is totally the ending of a difficult cycle with the Ten of Swords. Like, that's crazy. Like, I couldn't even make this up. These three cards in tandem with one another is like packing a punch right now. It's saying like we are putting something to a complete end. We are completely dropping those burdens, letting it go, no longer stressing. Spirit wants me to look at this. The Hanged Man in reverse. Wow. So it's like you've taken the time. You know, maybe you were in this sort of limbo suspension stage in your life where that you were kind of having a hard time moving forward. Everything felt like, no matter what I do, you know what I mean? I'm not getting any results, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like you've now gained the enlightenment of struggle, okay? And this can be a very annoying and frustrating concept to think about when you are in the state of struggle. Very challenging, okay, to think that there's something to be learned in that, right? Or that there's something in it that is actually like a blessing because it's teaching us something really important. And one of the main things that we learn when we are struggling and going through difficult times is compassion. Okay, and this is learning how to have more compassion for yourself and loving yourself through the struggle, right? And not carrying so much blame and guilt and all this sort of thing. But it also teaches us to be compassionate towards others in their struggle, and a lot of times we don't really understand what something is like until we go through it ourselves, and so I feel like you've learned a lot through this struggle, and if anything, it's now it may be putting to bed also like these past belief systems. Like, this seriously is a concept that has been continuously coming up, and again, that lucky break energy too. So it may feel like frustrating because it feels like, yeah, I keep hearing about it, it keeps coming up, but like, where's my blessing? Where's my breakthrough? Where's my lucky break? Where's the end of all this? You know what I mean? Where is that defining moment? Because we're all waiting for that kind of like, okay, but it is this journey. So it's like these little things that lead us closer and closer, okay? You know what I mean? But this coming out in reverse along with all these other cards is telling me that you are literally, you're gaining this enlightenment. And then when the Hanged Man, right, is in, regardless of gender, right, is in suspension, they are gaining enlightenment by seeing things through a new perspective. And then when they come out of that, they get to take that enlightenment with them into the world, back out of this place of stagnancy, right? It's a very good card to be seeing right now. Look at that, the Chariot in reverse. Again, there may just have been some imbalance or something preventing you from moving forward, And then the Hermit in reverse. Look at that. The Hermit in reverse is so much like the Hanged Man in reverse. It's so similar because, again, you see this, the light from the lantern, the light in the mind, right? This enlightenment, okay? The Hermit goes within, okay? And they silence the world, they put their phone on airplane mode, right? Like, that's the energy. And they go within and they find the inner light that helps them get through the darkness, right? It guides their way afterwards when they go back out into the world, which is a lot like the Hanged Man in reverse. So this is a very, very, like, we're getting like double, triple confirmation here, okay? One more card off the top. The Emperor in reverse. You may have been feeling really powerless, right? You may feel powerless in this moment. So it's kind of like I said, we're getting to the end of something. We're getting through something. So this could be where you're at right now, Again, Chariot also represents movement, actually moving, relocating. It can represent your vehicle. So if you're having car troubles and feeling powerless, okay, this may be where you're at right now. And part of the reason, why we look to tarot for guidance or perspective is really usually because we're going through some tough times. You know what I mean? I mean, how many of y'all watch tarot readings when everything's going great for you? Some of you do probably, but I'm just saying that oftentimes, which is why I personally really, really appreciate tarot, it can be a tool to help us really get a grasp on what we're going through and what is coming next, right? Like it's kind of like it's a way of transcribing our experience, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Making it like tangible so we can really see it, okay? Three of Swords. Yeah. It's like, I feel like there's just been this really, really difficult challenge that you've been going through. And it's, you know, it could be, like I said, physical, mental, emotional. Three of Swords is just about, like, you know, heartache and tragedy, right? So I feel like this is what you've been working through. This is the energy you've been in, okay? But look at that. Queen of Wands at the bottom of the deck. The Queen of Wands is somebody who is self-confident, self-sufficient. They are action-oriented, passionate, capable, okay? Attractive, and not just physically. I mean, like, they're energetically attractive because what the energy they're putting out there is like electric, you know what I mean? And it really like impacts the people around them. So then, you know, it's kind of something that like people are really drawn to. So again, it's like you're like almost like a phoenix too. I would totally say Queen of Wands energy is definitely like a phoenix. Look at that. Eight of Swords. You have been, okay, listen, like I'm getting this message pretty strongly. You have been stuck, okay, purposefully. And I know that's so hard to believe and so hard to embrace and really, really like acknowledge. But I feel like the universe puts you in a corner to force you to go within, to force you to look at where it is that you are, you know, still needing to grow and learn, okay? And it has kind of put you under this pressure because you are so special, you know what I mean? And you are so divine and so worthy, you know? So it's not like you're being punished. It's like you're actually being blessed through your struggle. And I know, like I said, it sounds like garbage when you're going through it, and especially if that's where you're at right now. But what I'm telling you is that the purpose of all this is not just to hurt you, right? The heartache and the pain is not the purpose of all this. It's the enlightenment. That is the purpose, you know? And it's for you to rise like a phoenix and recognize no matter how bad things get, no matter how down and out you become or what happens in, you know, your physical reality, you always have your spirit. You know what I mean? You always have your connection to spirit. The star in the center of this card is really making me think of the star card, which is all about your connection to spirit. So it's like getting you back in touch with your divine purpose, almost your innocence in a way too. And also recognize the Eight of Swords is all in the mind too. So it's almost like you've done this to yourself in a way. And like I said, I know, it's like, it's really hard for me to give these messages sometimes because I already know how it might sound to some people. And I already know that this type of advice or this type of message is like, can be really difficult to embrace when you're struggling. You know what I mean? So please, just one second, I think I need to plug my computer in, but please don't shoot the messenger and know that like I only channel the message because I love you guys and I want you to be able to really to really grow and expand, you know, as a person and as a spiritual being on this planet, you know. And a lot of times these messages are not what we want to hear, and it can be really, really painful and hurtful, you know. And this is kind of the energy where, like, you know, you get mad at the universe, you get mad at God, you get mad at spirit, whatever you want to call it, you know. And you're kind of like, why the hell am I going through all this? So if you can find purpose in the struggle, then it's almost like, you know, you're able to overcome it. Okay, but remember, Eight of Swords is all in the mind. So, like I said, there could be things happening around you physically, but if you mentally are feeling defeated and you're feeling like nothing is going to get better, look, the Knight of Pentacles is all about sustained effort over time. You know, so you have continued to like chug. You know what I mean? You've continued to move forward, even though it's been challenging. You know, and yeah, I'm really proud of you for that, and you should be really proud of yourself. Because it's definitely not over, you know what I mean? You are not done yet, honey. All this garbage you've been going through, though, is about done. Look at that. The Death card. And what is that? Eight of Wands in reverse. So it's almost like Spirit has put you, like I said, almost in this, like, I almost said echo chamber, but it was more like a silent chamber. I don't know how to explain that, but it's almost like putting you in this position where it's like, the amount of like action and communication coming towards you is like so minimal, you know, but it's for this transformation. It's for you to get back in touch with your innocence, maybe even your inner child here, you know. Again, with the star in the Eight of Swords card that I was showing you, it almost made me think of like, it sounds so dumb, y'all. I swear, I hope y'all are on board with the way my messages come through, and please hit the like button and let me know, like drop me comments and stuff. I really appreciate you guys but it's almost like, okay, with the star, it's like, look, you have this shining light. You have this shining light, right? With the king of, or the queen of wands, it's like you have this fire. And the star was almost making me think of like twinkle twinkle little star, and this like very like innocent, like when you feel like you have nothing else and nowhere to go, it's like you break down and you almost revert back to your inner child. And there's very few ways for you to do that besides through, and this is like the not the dark inner child, but it's almost like the wounded inner child, right? So again, it's like one of the only ways to get in touch with this is through struggling and suffering and strife, right? And it's not, it, like I said, it's not to punish you and it's not to hurt you. It's really just for you to learn. And so one of the things that I really try and do, and it's hard as hell, like I'm definitely right here with y'all. Like it's not like I'm speaking from this like cloud in the sky, right? What I try and do is remember that this is just an experience, okay? It's just an experience. And yes, it hurts sometimes. And yes, it is not fair. And yes, it's also wonderful and delightful and, you know what I mean, euphoric it can be. This spectrum of experience that we're having is temporary, no matter what it is we're facing, no matter how bad it gets, no matter how good it gets. It's all temporary, So if you can find any sort of comfort in that, just know that what you can do in your life is to make the absolute most out of it. You know what I mean? And don't have regrets about the past, like maybe you took things for granted or you didn't apply yourself or you failed or whatever. That was just part of the experience. It's okay. You have today. You have the next day, hopefully, right? And if not, that's okay too, because it's all just an experience. So if you can kind of separate yourself from the attachment that you may have to what the experience is like and what that means and all this sort of thing, then you can roll with the punches and go with the flow and say, you know what? I want to be this type of person in this experience, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? I want to learn as much as I can. And so I want to experiment. What if I just experiment with being positive? And what if I just experiment with like not giving a fuck, or experiment with, being detached from the outcome and just saying, hey, it's just an experience. You know what I mean? I'm not getting out of this thing alive. So what am I tripping for? What am I worried about? We're worried about suffering more. Most of the time, yeah. So we want to prevent suffering. We want to increase pleasure, right? This is kind of like our base instincts. So if we can even find a way to detach ourselves from that, I'm not saying contribute to your suffering, but I'm saying don't suffer about the idea of suffering more. You know what I mean? Like don't put yourself through more suffering than what is already on your plate, And maybe if you can embrace the suffering, you will understand something even more. It's tough. It's a fucking toughie, And we make it so much tougher on each other, throughout this life experience too, because of the decisions we make, because we're so attached and we're so full of ego. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, a lot of us are, And so, if we all could have the experience, like the attitude that this is just an experience, then we would not put each other through so much suffering and pain, because it's be like, well, why am I so attached to winning? Why am I so attached to making money? Or why am I so attached to taking this land and doing this specific thing with it that damages the environment or displaces people? And it's an attachment, it's a drive, it's an egoic way of experiencing life, instead of looking at it like, wow, this is a beautiful fucking place, and I could go sit down by the creek over there and just put my feet in the water and eat the fruit off the tree and just like enjoy the place, enjoy the space, and not try and dominate it and take it and have it and destroy it and, turn it into money or whatever it is. You know what I mean? So it's this mindset difference. So if you can have a mindset difference that, can put that kind of thinking and that kind of attitude of like, I'm going to get left behind. I'm going to starve to death. I'm not going to have a house, a roof over my head. I'm blah, blah, blah. Whatever this fear is of suffering, if we can begin to find a way to live out of that inner light, then we will have less suffering in our current experience, no matter what that might look like. Some of y'all I know are probably living out of your car, you know what I mean, sitting on your phone right now watching this reading. I know like a lot of people, again, are having this difficulty, right? So what I'm saying is, and it's annoying to hear, because especially if you think someone doesn't get it, then it can be really hard to listen to what they have to say, and take comfort in it, So, yeah, take comfort in the fact that you're not alone, and I do get it, and I'm just as scared as you are. But thank God for spirit, thank God for tarot, it's just kind of like that. I don't know, trying to find whatever little bit of solace and comfort that you can in life, and trying to get through it. So let's see if there's any other messages that want to come out here. I don't know. I just love you guys out there, and it bums me out. That we're going through all this, right? But like, the thing is again, it's teaching, not just us, but everybody. Everybody's learning something here, and especially if they choose to, because you can definitely apply yourself to these, this spiritual mindset. You can apply yourself to the principles of, divinity, etc. You know what I mean? And you can learn faster and expand and grow and relax and let go and all those sort of things much, much faster. The moon card is coming out. So the moon is all about revealing what's hidden. You know what I mean? This is about the subconscious mind. So a lot of times, again, these belief systems, these mindsets, etc., really are coming from in here first, and then it dictates every little action we take, every little moment, every little perspective, decisions, etc. It's all coming from in here. So when we look at the grand scheme of our life, right, and we look at the major themes, the major experiences, the major attitudes and belief systems, it like all boils down to what's inside of us. What is the subconscious mind doing? And again, like I said, we impact one another with our actions and attitudes and belief systems, right? So it's not just like my entire reality is based off of just my attitude. Not entirely the case, because I could have the most positive attitude in the world, be walking down the street, somebody else doesn't have that same attitude, and our energy conflicts with each other. That's not really necessarily my fault. But if we all, this is the power here, if we all were able to look at ourselves honestly, and look at where our belief systems and our attitudes and our behaviors are negatively impacting us and others, right? Have a little altruism and a little bit of, open-heartedness, okay, about the way that and compassion for the way we impact others, the world would be a very different place, So that's the hope. The hope is that the more people that start to really embrace this message, right? And not just from me, because this is a message that I feel like Spirit is trying to bestow upon all of us all the time in many, many different ways, okay? I'm just one little conduit, right? Then hopefully, like, the better of a life experience, so when I say better, that's really subjective, but a life experience with less suffering. How about that? I mean, that is the goal, right? But at the same time, it's like the suffering that we are enduring, we can't necessarily, discount it as being something that's not teaching us something. And basically, here's how I look at it, okay? I just try and cope, and I try and understand. So one of the ways I look at it is, if there is mass suffering, right, on the planet, it could be simply teaching us that what it is we are doing to ourselves and to one another is causing suffering. You know what I mean? I know it sounds really simple and really stupid, okay? But if there is, say, contaminated water, that's an example. Then the contaminated water gets us sick, then it's like the sickness is a symptom of the contamination. So then we can look back and say, oh, the water is contaminated. So how do we decontaminate the water? You know what I mean? Through filtration, through ending whatever, I mean, like preventing the contamination in the first place. We boil it back down to the actions and decisions that have created the problem. You know what I mean? So the the problem is creating illness, right? So if we can look at the illness itself and say, well, the illness is all the way traced back to this specific action, whether it was like, you know what I mean, neglect and what do you call that, negligence. So if it was negligence on the part of a specific company, you know what I mean, and they contaminate the water, then they are responsible for it. So what they're learning, okay, through this experience is to not do it again. So it's very, very simple if you look at it that way. So when we look at the mass suffering that's taking place now, we can say, oh, well, it's because of A, B, and C, like these systemic issues, this negligence, this, it's kind of like mass profiteering and taking advantage and, all those sorts of things, where we are kind of being squeezed into a corner where that we don't have any other options but to basically be a slave. You know what I mean? To capitalism, right? And like this is like I said, this is deep, this is too intense, this is too political. Honey, like it's all political at this point. There's no separation anymore. Every single aspect of our lives is impacted by the decisions of others, right? So that's not to say we're powerless though, because that is maybe how we're feeling, is powerless. But that is a part of the mindset, because we could have the mindset of, you know what? People make mistakes. People have a lot to learn, maybe people are inadequate, and flawed and make like bad decisions, selfish decisions, right? We can look at the aspects that make up our current scenario, and it teaches us how not to be, okay? And it also gives us the opportunity to reflect back to those who are making these impactful decisions, like, hey, this is the impact of your decision, and here are some solutions for how to remedy your impact, how to remedy your mistake, how to find redemption, how to make right what has been made wrong. Now, it's like I said, it's very challenging when you are not in the position to make those decisions and make those changes, right? But you're out here suffering because of it. So, unfortunately, there's a lot of people on this planet who are not suffering the consequences of their actions, but other people are. So, basically, what I'm saying is we are learning a fuck ton. Okay? And unfortunately, maybe we're not the ones who necessarily need to do all this learning. There's other people who need to do this learning too. So what I'm saying is, unfortunately, if people don't learn from their actions, then they will suffer the consequences. Because you reap what you sow. Truly, they will harvest the consequences of their actions, because nobody can escape it, maybe temporarily. But again, this experience that we're on together is one that we all will learn something from, right? So if we can look at it that way, as a valuable learning experience, then hopefully the lessons that we learn can be carried on and be part of our evolution, essentially, so we can only hope and pray, right? And work towards, take action towards these lessons being applied and continue this sustained effort, that came up earlier. This sustained effort of continuing to apply the lessons that we learn in order to continue to evolve, right? To make this experience something that's less painful, there's less suffering, right? And so, unfortunately, we might, I don't know, there might be some type of ending that we reach, But I also feel, like I said, for those of us who are doing the work, who are learning, who are embracing this experience and saying, you know what can I learn from this? Without blaming other people and feeling stuck and going through all this pain and yada, yada, yada. How can I drop the burden of all of those belief systems and attitudes and approach this from a place of, from a place of forgiveness and acceptance and compassion and open-heartedness and going back to this kind of more childlike nature? Because, I don't know about y'all, but like when I was a kid, and people, and particularly, not to get too personal, but in my family dynamic and stuff, when there were people in my family dynamic and then growing up who acted or behaved in a way that was, hurtful, harmful, et cetera, et cetera, my approach was always to try and understand and reflect back what I was experiencing due to their actions, and really wanting to make things right. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, as a child, I had more compassion and patience and, desire for balance than, some adults, and in my family dynamic. So, it's kind of like, it takes two, and more than two, but it takes all parties meeting in the middle. So if we do our part, here's how I see it: if we do our part, we continue to evolve, we continue to grow. And if other people don't do their part and they don't continue to evolve or grow, then that's on them. You know what I mean? And they will suffer the consequences of that, unfortunately. Which sometimes means, losing their relationships. you know so this is all boiling down. Okay, it's boiling down, and we're gaining this enlightenment about our specific individual situation and how that plays into the larger story, right? Which is pretty much what these readings are here on my channel, the collective readings. So anyway, I hope you're enjoying the reading and you're here for it. If you are, please do hit those buttons. And also, just to be really blunt, I've been struggling a lot lately. It's been a very challenging month for me. So if any of you out there are feeling generous and you're even able to, my donation links are down below. And if you want a personal reading, please don't hesitate to hit me up. I also do like life advice, dream interpretations. We can just, talk about things. I'm very, very flexible and open. Okay. So please feel free to reach out to me. On Instagram is the best way to get in touch with me. And all that's down in the description box. So the Empress just came out. Now the Empress is all about reaping what you sow. The Empress is all about harvesting, what it is that you have, kind of contributed to, basically. And what I think is so great about this card too is you see all the stars in their hair, and all of the crops around them, the wheat. It's representing abundance and prosperity. And the stars are really reminding me of kind of like, that star energy that was coming through. So it's kind of like we wear the crown of our enlightenment. You know what I mean? We wear, oh my God, I'm even getting, wow, this is like crazy the way this reading is like really, really like woven together. Again, it's making me think of like getting a gold star in class when you're like in elementary school or whatever, like because you did something right, you did the right thing, or you did well, you get a gold star. That's what it's almost like, this idea of like, not to belittle anyone, like, but it's this concept of the universe giving us gold stars, and it's like we wear the crown of our right doing, and of, really doing that work. You know what I'm saying? So this is like intangible, and it's tangible in that it does result in changes in our life, and it changes the way that we behave. It changes everything in our life when we start to live from this place of, kind of awareness and innocence, and, creative prosperity, right? And all this sort of thing, right? Okay. These are just the words that are coming to me. But one of the things that I think is so beautiful about this idea is that it can be hard because you can put in the work consistently, and then the only people who really recognize and appreciate that, unfortunately, a lot of the time are, other people who've put in the work. So they know, they can recognize it in you, and they can recognize it in the way that you treat them and you treat others, and the way you live your life. And so we have one another in that way. But unfortunately, the rest of the world, a lot of times they're looking for certifications and, what does your life look like on paper, and what are your accomplishments in this life, and all that sort of thing, like these very tangible aspects of what it means to be successful. Whereas a lot of the times it's like in the spiritual world, like we're wearing crowns and we are warriors and we've overcome so much. And it's because of this, going within and all the suffering that we've had to go through, and then finding that inner light and bringing it back out to share with the world. And this is why I think it's so beautiful these days that we have these mediums and these ways of kind of sharing ourselves and that part of ourselves with the world, you know what I mean? And being able to kind of step out of the shadows to a certain degree, again, coming out of hermit mode, coming out of hanged man mode, right? And we're kind of able to step out of the shadows and kind of share our light, right? So it's almost like you are coming out of this, you are emerging victorious in this really like this when it comes to your enlightenment, when it comes to your lessons learned, and where you stand in the spiritual world. Whereas here, maybe in the physical world, you feel again powerless, heartbroken, right? Unable to move forward, blah blah blah. Maybe that's how you appear in the physical world, but that is very different than where you're at in the spiritual world. Like I feel like spiritually have many, many gold stars, okay, and a lot of abundance. And that's the importance of really, really embracing yourself and who you are on the inside, and your spirit, right? Because that is one thing that no matter what happens in this world, y'all, like I truly believe this, nobody can take that away from you. Nobody can destroy that. These are intangible, I'm hearing the word like immortalized, like accomplishments, these are accomplishments that nobody can strip from you, take from you, and you get to take those with you when you leave here, and that's part of the whole thing of this is just an experience, because at the end of the day, at the end of the road, it's like the only thing that you will have taken with you is what you've gathered and what you've built for yourself. Excuse me, y'all. Like internally, and you're victorious and you're very abundant in the spirit world. So excuse me, I feel like someone out there really needs to hear that. The Chariot in the upright. So this is why this is important, from my perspective in this moment right now. Part of why this is important is because once you get in balance, you see the two kitty cats, typically they are horses, pulling the chariot here. Again, it's almost like that innocence. Wow, that is so cute, because it is kind of a childlike innocence in this card as far as interpreting the two horses as cats, which I think is so cute. But it's more so like there's always, typically they're like a black and a white, a light and a dark horse. Sometimes brown and yellow or whatever, golden. But it really represents the two kind of the dichotomy of energy within us, which would be kind of like, our darker side, which is, our kind of like our aggression, our drive, our ego, that sort of thing. And then our kind of lighter side, our compassion, our generosity, etc. It's like getting these two energies in balance within you by doing the work. Okay, this is really, really pulling all together, is actually exactly what you need to do to move forward in the physical world. Because guess what? Here's the thing. Once you know the truth and you dedicate yourself to it, unfortunately, y'all, and this is going to be tough for some people to hear, it's even tough for me to say because I hate it. This is part of what I'm learning in this life, is to recognize that, it's not a bad thing, but it is quite frustrating. So, okay. Also, I was raised religious growing up. So there's a lot of like things in my subconscious belief system, right, with the moon card that really contribute to the way I see the world now, that I've had to work through and unlearn a lot of the toxic mindsets that come along with that, and no shade to anyone out there who subscribes to that mindset. I don't really know why you'd be watching my channel, but you're welcome here, of course. But I'm just going to speak from experience really quick. One of the things that is so challenging, one of the things that I took away from my upbringing, is that, there's a whole passage about, those who are last shall be first, and those who are first shall be last, etc. Like the meek will inherit the earth, etc., etc. So the idea is, this is how I interpret this, because I do think there are principles in, the Bible that are that are worth looking at, okay? Or they're worth, it's like sifting for gold. That's how I feel about it, you know. And growing up, I always felt that way about the Bible. I was like, oh, that's scary, or that's kind of weird, or I don't really like that. But then there's these little nuggets of wisdom, okay, buried and woven throughout it. Now, one of the things that I took away from that is those who essentially relinquish their pursuit of spiritual enlightenment or balance, right? And they kind of throw their, what's the word? They throw their responsibility and that spiritual work to the side. They say, I don't care about that, right? My pursuit is going to be physical gain. You know, I really want to gain wealth, right? And now here's the thing, wealth and spirituality can go hand in hand. They can be balanced. You can have both, okay? But here's the challenging part. This is the challenging part for me to like really accept, okay? Because I just hate it. But the concept is that when you decide that you are no longer going to be focusing on the work, and instead you're going to basically win at all costs, which means you don't care if you hurt other people, you don't care if you, kind of destroy or impact or harm, the world, right? And that means, the environment, other people, whatever, right? Anything in your way. None of that matters to you, right? Let's say, hypothetically, right? Imagine this. Now, because you have totally abandoned, that's the word, abandoned your pursuit of spiritual knowledge and or, righteousness, we'll say, right? There's just examples, right? Ways to describe what I'm talking about. And your pursuit is purely physical, right? Then it's almost like you're not held to the same standard. I know this is tough. You will be. But hear me out. It's like when you get to the end of that road, all of that you have abandoned and ignored is going to catch up to you, So it's this idea of those who are first shall be last is because they've abandoned the heart of what's really important in this experience, which is, how you use your energy and your spirit, right, through life. When you abandon that for other pursuits, it's not like that is just no longer a factor in your life and how things, play out, or what it is you learn and what you take with you. It is just abandoned and thrown off to the side. So it's not developing, it's not growing, it's not, whatever. And, so when you get to the end of this road and all you focused on was this temporary experience, then, what it is you take with you is very little. You know what I mean? You don't get those gold stars, so to speak, right? So this is kind of also why, like, it's complex, but it's not complicated. So let me just explain. So when it comes to reincarnation, right? A lot of people believe that, if you don't learn your lessons, so to speak, right? You don't get those gold stars, right? Because you didn't focus on that in this lifetime. All that temporary stuff was not what you were here to learn. You know what I mean? That is just part of the experience. So you basically have to start over. You have to come back. There's other things that you need to do in order to gain that enlightenment. That's the concept, right? So now imagine you're somebody who really you really value, okay, spiritual lessons. You really value trying to reduce the suffering around you. You don't want to harm people. You don't want to impact people. You're more focused on spiritual wellness within yourself and others. So this is about healing. This is about recovering from, like healing trauma, whether that's ancestral trauma, being somebody who wants to plant seeds, okay, and mend harm, right? Mend these burnt bridges, right? Etc. Okay. So there's like lots of ways to describe this, but I'm saying if you're somebody who is more interested in and you decide that you want to pursue, this inner balance, so you're not living out of this place of like anger, greed, blah, blah, blah. You're like, no, I want to live out of this place of peace, generosity, kindness, working together, creating harmony, right? So there's this kind of difference in approach to life. So when you focus on those things, sometimes the physical aspect of that, when it comes to like wealth and power and all that sort of thing, those things are not always congruent, unfortunately. That's the world that we live in right now. And that's because of the imbalance, right? So when we don't have, um, these kind of more physical, worldly pursuits, and I'm not saying you can't have both, I'm just saying a lot of times they conflict with each other because of this kind of dichotomy, imbalance, right? This lack of harmony that we're living in right now, because we really do impact the world around us, right? We create our own world. And when I say we, not just me, not just you, all of us together create this. So essentially, sometimes that part of your life will suffer because you're not willing to throw people under the bus. And that's one of the few ways to get to the top, is by being deceptive, by taking advantage of people, etc., 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 right? So, if you're living from this place of morality, right, and ethics, a lot of times, unfortunately, you may suffer financially. This is just being very blunt. Now, in a lot of ways, your decision to focus on what's right, and especially when you know what's right, you are held, fortunately or unfortunately, to a much higher standard in the spirit realm than some of these other people. So it's not like they're being rewarded by being like physically wealthy, because unfortunately it's going to catch up to them anyway. So really, who's really luckier? It's not about luck, it's about choice. These are just consequences of choices. So a lot of people unfortunately will abandon their spiritual path because they see, well, one of the only ways for me to get ahead is to be deceptive and to pull scams on people, or basically like raise my prices exponentially, and how can it's like investment, right? Okay, so here's how I put it, is that if you are to, steal something, well, you didn't really invest in it, you just stole it, right? So then now you can take it and sell it to other people, and then you profit. That's what profit is, right? But if you invest time and energy and effort into something, and then you sell it to people, and then you make that investment back plus profit, then it's like you had to work a lot more, put in a lot more, so you profit less, right? So this is why, okay, this is what I'm trying to say, is that, the way that things have been set up by people who have abandoned the idea of morality and ethics has made it very challenging to even get to that level of wealth that those people are at, unless you engage in the same type of unethical practices, right? So this is like crazy how like expansive this message has gotten. But basically what I'm trying to say, y'all, is that it's not worth it to do that. And a lot of people who want to remain ethical, unfortunately, suffer financially because they're not willing to do that. Because they're like, I've already dedicated myself, and I know what's right and what's wrong. And when I say right and wrong, it's really about balance and imbalance. Harm and help, right? So are we going to harm people, or are we going to help people? And we wouldn't have to help people so much if there weren't so many damn people harming them. You know what I mean? So basically what I'm saying is that while it may seem really unfair and really messed up that that's the scenario you might be in, because now you can't, like, you can't, if you have a conscience, okay, right? Again, with this moon card, your belief system, what's deep within you. If you have a conscience, you cannot knowingly engage in this sort of thing, and feel good about it, because you know the consequences and the impact of that. You know what I mean? And you've already dedicated yourself, in a way, to this spiritual path. You wear a crown of ethics and morality, right? Because you've continued to try and make the right decision, even when it was hard, even when you're suffering and you have nothing left, but you're still not willing to steal, you know what I mean, from people. You're still not willing to harm people in order to get what it is you want, to get ahead, whatever, because there's consequences for that in the spiritual realm. You're held to a higher standard because you know good and fucking damn well what could happen to you, and the harm you're causing, right? And the ripple effect it has in the world, So you're held to a higher standard, and that sucks, because you're like, well, these people need to be punished for all their... They will be. And if they're not already suffering, they will. you know? So there's this whole idea of this karmic rebalancing that's happening right now. So if you stay on the path and you decide, no matter how hard it gets, I know that I have my fucking soul, I have my spirit, I have my heart, and I know where I stand in the eyes of the universe, in the eyes of spirit. I know where I stand when it comes to my morality, you know? And so I'm not afraid of the suffering. I'm not afraid of, you know, the pain that I may go through, and I'm not afraid of, you know, I'm not afraid of death. I'm not afraid of any of that, because I know that what I'm taking with me when I leave here is so fucking valuable. It's way more valuable than any of this shit, you know? And being humble is not necessarily like I said, it's like we are coming up to the edge of the turning of the tables. Like, we are the torch carriers. We are the people who will be stepping into these positions of power. And I know that, like, for a fact. I can feel it. And that's why there's so much prevention of us succeeding and becoming prosperous. That's why we're being put through so much suffering, because, you know, the people who are in power now, they really, really don't want to see us step up to the plate, because they already know, like, they are, you know, but I'm saying it's not up to them, you know? So stay on your path, continue to do the work within, you know, no matter what happens, y'all. I'm telling you, it is way more important, because like I said, when we leave here, that's the only thing we get to take with us, you know, and that is going to determine, like, where we go next, you know? That's just my belief system. You may or may not subscribe to that, but that's just how I look at this experience, being a human on this planet, you know? Is that it's a training ground. Does that make sense? Which is why it's so fucking difficult. And you know, we get to choose what it's going to be like here. And unfortunately, people have made choices that are now impacting us in a very negative way. But it's all going to be okay in the end, you know. So don't allow what other people are doing to you, or to those around you, or to your ability to be successful and prosper. Don't allow it to break you down to become that type of person, because you are going to reap what you sow. You have already planted the seeds. You have already done the work. So don't worry, you will be rewarded for that. That's what I'm saying, is that it's all going to flip on a dime anyway. So if you give up now on your spiritual path, that's not going to help you, because you're just going to end up at the bottom. And when I say the bottom, I just mean that, you know what I mean? You're going to suffer the consequences of those decisions. So if you can maintain your ethics, and you can stand strong in how you feel and who you are and doing the right thing, then I feel like you're going to inherit the earth with the rest of your, you know, soul family who has been doing the same thing, who's been putting in that work. Because that is just, I don't know why, y'all. That's just what the message is coming through, okay? And I do believe in, you know, prophecy to a certain degree as well. There's a lot of fucking false prophets out there, y'all. Watch out. But there's a lot of us who really feel these things really strongly, because it's a message that we were given at the time of our inception. You know what I mean? As baby children, we were like, okay, I see what's going on here. So anyway, this has been the message. I'm going to end it before it hits an hour. And I'm going to leave the rest to y'all, because this has been a really intense message, and I hope that you got something out of it. Most of all, I just hope that you stay strong, you know, and have faith, and you're going to get through this, okay? Just stay strong. Don't give up, okay? And I really, really look forward to seeing y'all on the other side of all this, okay? So please do hit that like button. Drop me a comment. Let me know how you like the reading. Subscribe if you're not subscribed, and join me tomorrow for my lives. I'm going to be doing a live reading where that you can ask me 3 questions, and I will answer them to the best of my ability. And if you want a personal reading, then please do hit me up on Instagram. Again, all that is down in the description box. If you want to drop me a donation, you're always welcome to do that. That's also down there. And until next time, I love y'all, and I know it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Just have faith. Okay. Thanks. I'll see you next time.